Canada is a land of vastness, a country so immense that it spans 6 time zones and stretches from the Atlantic to the Pacific, all the way to the Arctic Ocean. But how big is Canada really? It's one thing to hear that it's the second largest country in the world, but to truly grasp its sheer size and significance, we have to dive into its geography, its borders, its people, and what makes it stand out on a global scale. Canada covers an astonishing 9.98 million square kilometers, 3.85 million square miles, making it the second largest country in the world, just behind Russia. It is almost as large as all of Europe combined. But what does that really mean? Let's say that you are at the easternmost point of Canada in Newfoundland and decide to drive all the way to the westernmost point in Yukon. That journey would take you over 7,500 kilometers, about 4,600 miles, a trip longer than driving from New York to Los Angeles and back again. If you wanted to fly from St. John's, Newfoundland to Vancouver, British Columbia, you'd be in the air for over 7 hours, covering a distance greater than flying from London to Dubai. And if you attempted to walk across Canada, well, you'd be walking for years, likely facing every kind of climate condition along the way, from humid summers in Ontario to icy blizzards in the Arctic. To put this in perspective, consider this: if Canada's landmass were superimposed over Europe, it would stretch from the west coast of Portugal all the way past Russia's Ural Mountains. If placed over Africa, it would cover the Sahara Desert and extend deep into sub-Saharan regions. The sheer geographical scale of Canada makes it not just a country, but an entire world within itself, with a variety of climates. Despite its enormous landmass, Canada has a surprisingly small population of just around 40 million people. To put that into perspective, California alone has more residents than all of Canada. This makes Canada one of the least densely populated nations in the world, with vast stretches of untouched wilderness where you could travel for hours without encountering another person. In fact, nearly 90% of Canadians live within 160 kilometers, 100 miles of the US border, meaning most of the country remains sparsely populated and dominated by nature. Because of this, Canada has an unparalleled amount of open space. The country boasts over 50% of the world's natural lakes, with over 2 million lakes scattered across the landscape. If you were to visit one lake per day, it would take you over 5,000 years to see them all. Canada is also home to some of the largest unbroken forests on the planet, rivaling the Amazon in sheer scale. The boreal forest alone covers nearly 60% of the country, providing one of the world's largest carbon sinks and playing a vital role in the planet's ecological balance. And let's talk about remoteness. Canada is home to some of the most isolated communities in the world, where access is only possible by boat, plane, or ice roads that exist only in the winter months. Places like Alert, Nunavut, the northernmost permanently inhabited settlement on Earth, experience months of total darkness in winter and constant daylight in summer. Even major cities like Whitehorse, Yellowknife, and Iqaluit are far removed from the more populated southern regions, making them some of the most unique urban areas in the world. Canada's sheer size defines its very essence, shaping its climate, its geography, and even the way people live. One of the most fascinating things about Canada is its geographic diversity. The country is bordered by 3 oceans: the Atlantic to the east, the Pacific to the west, and the Arctic to the north. The east coast is home to the rugged cliffs of Newfoundland, the scenic landscapes of Prince Edward Island, and the historic city of Halifax in Nova Scotia, known for its maritime charm and incredible seafood. Moving inland, the central region houses the provinces of Quebec and Ontario, home to Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa, the nation's capital. This area is a mix of cosmopolitan cities, vast forests, and the Great Lakes, which hold about 20% of the world's fresh surface water. Further west, the prairies stretch across Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, forming the agricultural heartland of the country. Here you'll find endless wheat fields, rolling hills, and the oil-rich lands of Alberta. Beyond that, the West Coast is defined by the stunning Rocky Mountains, the vibrant city of Vancouver, and a mild, rainy climate that makes it one of the most picturesque regions in Canada. Then there's the Arctic, a remote and largely uninhabited region covered in permafrost and ice. The Northern Territories of Yukon, the Northwest Territories, and Nunavut are home to indigenous communities that have thrived for thousands of years in some of the harshest conditions on Earth. One of Canada's most interesting geographical features is its border with the United States. Stretching for 8,891 kilometers, 5,525 miles, it is the longest international border in the world. One of the most famous crossings is Niagara Falls, where millions of tourists move between Canada and the US every year. Despite its small population, Canada is one of the most multicultural countries in the world. Over 250 ethnic origins are represented, and more than 200 languages are spoken in homes across the country. The two official languages of Canada are English and French, with Quebec serving as the heart of the French-speaking population, though significant French-speaking communities also exist in New Brunswick, Manitoba, and Ontario. Beyond English and French, Canada is home to a growing number of languages from around the world, including Mandarin, Punjabi, Spanish, and Tagalog. The foundation of Canada's diversity lies in its Indigenous heritage. The First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples have lived in the land now known as Canada for thousands of years, contributing rich traditions, languages, and cultures that continue to shape the country today. Its Indigenous communities are spread across all provinces and territories, with distinct cultures that reflect the geography and history of their regions. So, how does Canada compare to other nations? Compared to the United States, it is similar in land area but has over 10 times fewer people. Compared to Australia, another vast country, it has a much more varied climate and landscape, whereas Australia is largely desert. Compared to China, which is smaller in land area but has over 1.4 billion people, it looks almost empty by comparison. If Canada had the same population density as the UK, it would have over 2 billion people living within its borders. Now, what about the weather and climate? Well, yes, Canada is cold, but it's not always freezing. While places like Winnipeg and Yellowknife experience brutal winters, cities like Vancouver enjoy mild, rainy conditions year-round. And summers, for example, in places like Toronto and Montreal, temperatures can reach 35 degrees Celsius, 95 Fahrenheit, or even higher. However, Canada does have some of the coldest recorded temperatures in the world, with minus 63 Celsius, minus 81.4 Fahrenheit recorded in Snag, Yukon. This is colder than the surface of Mars on some days. To conclude, we can say that this country is massive, diverse, and filled with natural wonders. But beyond its size, what truly makes Canada special is its people. Whether you've been to Canada or not, this country is as vast in heart as it is in land. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more content. Thank you for watching. Until next time.